The city of Jerusalem is a sacred place. It's said that Jerusalem is the location where Jesus was brought as a child, and it's for this reason that this place is important for many reasons. Interestingly, amateur UFO researchers have suggested that Jerusalem is actually a hotspot for these crafts, and that every year people close to this region report seeing strange lights in the sky. One person recently sent me the following message. I have a sighting that I'd like to share with you. I don't want to tell anyone I know about this as it goes against my beliefs. For the last few nights I've been seeing these strange lights above Jerusalem. I live very close by and I've never seen anything like it before. The objects look like large blue balls that would pulsate. I could see them flying around at high speeds. Oddly though, they weren't making any sound while doing this. They would occasionally pulsate and then roam the area again. It's strange because it looked as though the lights were almost looking for something. They weren't just flying randomly. They were dipping down and then back up again. I tried to take some photographs, but the lights were not very big, and they weren't showing up on the camera very well. They just looked like a blur when I reviewed the images. I have done some research online and I can see that others have seen strange lights in the sky above Jerusalem. I don't know what it was, but I thought I'd share my experience with you." End quote. This eyewitness sounds like they saw an orb. These crafts are known within UFO circles. Glowing orbs is a phenomenon that's been witnessed all over the globe. These glowing orbs come in a variety of different colours, ranging from blue, red, orange, yellow, pink, silver, green and black, and most people who've seen them have said they appear to pulsate and fly at extremely fast speeds. Those who've seen them have said they look to be under intelligent control, and that due to how fast they fly it's near impossible to get a high quality photo of them. UFO researchers who have looked into these reports have said these crafts are some of the most interesting ones reported from around the world, with some saying that they remind them of drones. Due to UFOs being seen in this region, it's caused some to put forward some interesting theories, and one of these is that perhaps the Star of Bethlehem was actually an unidentified flying object. This idea has been put forward by many UFO believers, stating that if Jesus was really someone who had powers, then why is it so out there to suggest that the star was actually a craft? UFO researchers point to the fact that unidentified flying objects have been reported all throughout history, noting that ancient papyrus and cave paintings show strange crafts in the sky. It's for this reason that they believe these objects have been present throughout our history. Others put more at their theories and suggest that Jesus may have been sent down from one of these crafts, and that it was guiding them throughout their journey. Skeptics though deny this and say that just because a cave painting looks similar to a UFO, it doesn't mean that it's proof of unidentified crafts visiting our planet. Also going on to say that these are just theories, and as of right now we have no proof of UFOs ever visiting Earth. Believers say though that we have proof of advanced civilizations and UFOs that have visited our planet. One of these that's been used to back up the idea that humans are more advanced than we make out is that of the carvings from Kalbaktash. The image in question has been described as some as looking eerily similar to a modern day rocket engine, and this has caused ancient theorists to suggest that early civilizations had prior knowledge of rocketry, and were even in the early stages of using this technology. Various photographs can be found of this petroglyph next to a modern day rocket, and it's not hard to see why people suggest that early civilizations had this technology. Going back a few years ago, the Times of India announced that they had discovered something interesting inside a cave. Dr. Bhagat said that he and his team found something that resembled an alien, and suggested that the cave painting could be over 10,000 years old. He even went on to say that he'd like NASA's and the Indian Space Research Organisation's opinion on the discovery. Some theorists have suggested that going back thousands of years ago advanced civilizations flourished, and not only that but they also left behind evidence. For example, some point to the ancient stone figures found in the middle of a number of ancient Mayan ruins down in Guatemala. These feature an almost perfect recreation of a modern-day astronaut carved in stone. This stone figure has been at the center of many ancient civilization debates, and some claim the gods were depicted in such a way due to the fact they were merely advanced creatures visiting from faraway planets. The paintings can be found in a cave close to central India. What's interesting is that when first seeing the paintings there are many that show humans and animals. However, it also stunned the researchers because it showed kangaroos and giraffes. These are not native to India. However, it was this painting that stood out. Dr. Vargas said the following about the discovery. The findings suggest that humans in prehistoric times may have seen or imagined beings from other planets, which still creates curiosity among people and researchers. In a few pictures they're even shown wearing spacesuits. It's not the first time we found cave paintings like this, but never until now with such detail. Flying saucers, equipment, spacesuits, depictions of abduction are some of the images one can find in this region." End quote. Again, some suggest this shows evidence of beings visiting this planet, but others are not so sure, with some saying that all it shows is a tall-looking being. Some skeptics have said these are just bad drawings, and that we're looking too deep into them. Others have pointed to the objects like the Dogu Figurines, suggesting that many of these strange depictions can be found. For those unaware, the Dogu Figurines have fascinated theorists in the ancient astronaut community for years. They are used as hard evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials during the times of our ancestors. The Dogu Figurines depict small humanoid creatures that appear to be visually similar to that of the small grey alien. The purpose of the Dogu are widely unknown, but they have been found all around the Japanese island and have consistently dated to be somewhere around 14,000 to 16,000 years old, which is 4,000 to 6,000 years before the first human civilizations began to arise. Sadly, scientists have said that every year around 2,000 whale strandings happen. The high majority of these end up taking the life of the animal. The beaching of a single whale is normally due to a sickness, with researchers saying these individual strandings are not rare, but when mass beach happenings occur it's usually us humans that are to blame. A few years back though, marine experts were baffled when they discovered a whale 800 meters from the shore. The discovery was made in Skeffing in East Yorkshire, England. Once biologists inspected the animal, they said it measured in at just over 33 feet, saying that the animal passed away after coming too close to the shore. Andy Gibson, an expert from the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, said the following: "It's sad. It was in shallow waters of about 4 to 5 feet, making contact with the bottom. This was around 800 meters offshore. When it gets in that situation, it rolls onto its side and can cover its blowhole. Sometimes whales come into shallow waters looking for food and get stuck. With the high tide, the whale probably got carried up to the salt marsh, got pushed back further inshore and then got stuck when the tide went out." End quote. Others though said it was strange how it was found so far in, and that researchers are not sure why there's been a huge rise in whale strandings. Various theories have been put forward to try and explain why this happened, with one scientist saying they've been studying our ocean currents, and theorized that due to changes it's caused colder streams of Arctic water to come into shallower regions, which confuses the animal and leads them to beaching themselves. Researchers have said that our oceans are getting busier, and this in turn is directly affecting these whales. Discovered as early as 1822 by Daniel Collodon, sonar was used in an effort to detect submarines. Though Paul Langevin had invented the first sonar-like device in 1915, it was unfortunately too late to help the war effort, and sonar as we know it today wouldn't start making waves until navies began using it during World War II. Although an incredibly helpful tool during these times, it's safe to say that navies were not considering the impact on marine life when first using sonar. Sonar, which is short for sound navigation and ranging, is the use of underwater sound waves to determine the location of objects. There are two different types of sonar, active and passive. Active sonar, which has been commonly used by navies, involves a device known as a transducer that emits a sound pulse into the water. When this sound pulse hits a surface like a submarine or a whale, the pulse reflects back to the transducer, indicating that there is something in the water. These reflection pulses can then be calculated to determine how far away this object or creature is. Passive sonar, on the other hand, utilizes a system that does not emit a sound, and instead listens to detect any sound that comes near it. However, since 2001, it's been determined that active sonar is extremely harmful to whales and other aquatic animals, specifically a type of active sonar referred to as low-frequency active sonar. LFA sonar emits sound at a decibel nearly twice that of a rock concert, and can maintain the decibel of a concert for 300 miles underwater. Not only is this incredibly loud, it's severely detrimental to animals who primarily use long-range sound underwater to communicate with each other, to find food and to navigate. LFA sonars also cause hearing loss and hemorrhages in whales and dolphins, and has contributed to a shocking amount of strandings, also known as beachings, in which many animals have passed away on land, either to being beached or to the severe injuries sustained from LFA sonar. This has massively affected beaked whales, a type of whale that typically dives deeper in the ocean. The United States Navy authorization of using LFA sonar has come under legal battle more than once, and in 2012 it was found the Navy was in violation of the Marine Mammals Protection Act of 1972. When brought to court, it was ruled that the National Marine Fisheries Service was not doing enough to protect sea life from the Navy, and the National Marine Fisheries Services have put limitations on the Navy's use of LFA sonar. However, despite evidence of its harmful effects on aquatic animals, the Navy is still permitted to use LFA sonar in our oceans. This isn't the only recent whale discovery. Strangely, multiple whale species have dropped the pitch in their voices over the last few decades. Whale vocalization, often referred to as whale songs, is the low-frequency sounds that whales produce to communicate with each other. However, since 1960, it's been discovered that some species of whales, including different kinds of blue whales and fin whales, have lowered the pitch of their sounds. Some of these whale songs are in such a low frequency that they're barely audible, if at all, to the human ear. At first it was believed that these whales had changed their vocalizations due to how loud the ocean was. The theory was that the underwater noises caused by ships had impacted the whales' lives to the point of them entirely changing the way they speak. While some whales have adapted to this change in noise, by waiting for ships to pass by before communicating, it's been proven that this theory is false. The new frequency that whales speak in is quieter than their usual songs, but more importantly, while some whales do live in areas with high traffic, it was found that even whales that don't live in an area that has a high volume of marine traffic have lowered their vocalization. This has left scientists with two leading theories, both of which could be working in tandem. One theory is that the sound now travels further distances in the ocean. Specifically, this theory claims that climate change has altered the pH level of water in our oceans. Because of greenhouse gas emissions, the carbon dioxide level in the ocean has increased, and has made the water more acidic. This acidic water has caused sound waves to travel further than non-acidic water, meaning that this new environment has led whales to speak at a quieter, more appropriate volume. The other theory is that whales don't have to speak as loud anymore because there are more whales that are closer to them. Though it may be a strange way to put it, this is simply claiming that the whale population has increased. Sadly, many species of whales are classified as endangered, since they were hunted to the point of near extinction. At the beginning of the 20th century, blue whales had a population of over 200,000, but by 1972 they were down to 360. Since then, conservation efforts have become more serious, and whale populations have rebounded. Every year, scientists and researchers make fascinating discoveries. However, some of the most interesting ones are found by everyday people. In some cases, these accidental finds have even confused researchers, causing them to investigate the area further. One interesting discovery was made by a construction worker in China. The team were carrying out work in the region of Taiyou. They said that the road they were working on needed to be widened. However, halfway through, one of the workers noticed that there was a large object embedded in the ground. They could see that whatever the object was, it was big, with some of the workers suggesting that it may have been older than the city itself. The team then focused their attention on trying to dig out the artifact, being careful in the process as they weren't sure if it had any historical significance. After hours of working, they managed to dig 6 foot around the object, allowing them to get a better look at it. One of the first things they noticed was how big it was. It's estimated that it measured over 7 feet in length. The team managed to haul the object out of the ground and noticed that it appeared to be a tomb. They decided it would be best if archaeological and local historians were called in to investigate further. Once here, the specialists observed the outside of the block and determined that it was likely a tomb. Whether there was anything inside though was another question, as throughout history many of these ancient tombs were robbed for their goods. The archaeologists took all the necessary precautions to open the box as safely as they could. The first thing they saw when opening it was a strange liquid that started to seep out. However, after carefully moving things around, they soon discovered that the tomb wasn't empty. Inside was a mummy. The archaeologists were able to determine that the person was a female and she was over 700 years old. It wasn't until they saw her clothing and the jewelry she had on her that they realized this individual would have been very high up in the Ming dynasty. Once they knew what they were dealing with, the team called in more people to help assist. Once they arrived, they started to carefully remove the mummy from the tomb, noting that she was in incredible condition, and that this process was made easy due to the fact that she hadn't seen the light in hundreds of years. The mummy was in such good condition that the archaeologists said that things like her shoes looked almost brand new. This is just one example where an incredible artifact was lying underneath an ordinary place. Another interesting discovery to come from China is that of Zhang Heng's earthquake device. Zhang Heng's earthquake device has caused interest and confusion among those that have gone on to study it, suggesting that in ancient times individuals existed that were way ahead of their time. Although no surviving artifacts have existed and no complete diagrams or drawings of the device have survived, there have been accounts all the way from the ancient times of the Young dynasties more than 2,000 years ago that talk about in detail a strange device capable of measuring and predicting the positions of earthquakes. The device was said to have been created by a genius known as Zhang Heng, that lived in China during the Han Dynasty, and was responsible for a wide variety of breakthroughs in astronomy, mathematics, science, engineering, cartography, and poetry. Interestingly, it appeared that the emperor during this time was well aware of the fact that when an earthquake would occur in a far remote region of China, it was impossible to know how and when to send aid if no one from the region had the supplies fast enough to reach the emperor and alert him of the damages caused by the earthquake. This led Zhang Heng to create a device that was detailed in Chinese literature as being able to detect the small movements of a seismic event from far away, and point towards the direction of its origin with incredible accuracy. Although the inventor would pass away roughly 7 years later, before the first earthquake could occur and prove the legitimacy of the device, the emperor writes that one day he and his servants noticed that the Zhang Heng device was pointing in a direction after having detected a disturbance. Several weeks later, a messenger arrived from a distant land claiming that a region had been at the center of a large earthquake that caused devastation and destruction to its people that then required aid from the emperor. This confirmed the device's ability to sense the position and direction of earthquakes, and so was used then on as the main mechanism of any information regarding the natural disasters in the region. Interestingly, modern-day seismographs, devices that research scientists use to measure the intensity and direction of an earthquake, follow the same principle outlined in the Zhangheng earthquake device. This more than proves the validity of the device in ancient texts, and proves that the ancients had far more knowledge and awareness of the world around them than we give them credit for. Another recent announcement made by Chinese officials is that they plan to send an illumination satellite into orbit. So far, not much information has been released about the project, leaving many to wonder where this idea came from in the first place. Some have suggested the idea has been in testing for a few years now, and the technology was now in place to make it happen. The China Daily newspaper stated that huge mirrors could be launched by 2022. It's not clear from any reports whether this project has any official backing. The artificial moon would work as a mirror, reflecting sunlight back to Earth. So far we don't have any idea how this object will look, but it's said it won't be small. Reports say the object will orbit 500 kilometers or 310 miles above the Earth. This device is said to be able to reflect sunlight across an area of between 10 kilometers and 80 kilometers, or 6.2 to 50 miles. What's worried some people though is that it's been estimated this artificial moon will be 8 times as bright as the real moon. Some have said it could have an effect on wildlife, and even some people sleep if the object is that bright. Officials have said though that researchers predict that by constructing this artificial moon, it could save China up to £132 million a year. So what do you make of these interesting discoveries? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.